Tony Hinchcliffe's appearance on All In podcast felt like him finally saying out loud what he's probably been thinking for a while, that Austin comedy has won and everyone else is just mad about it. According to Tony, comedians still living in Los Angeles and New York spend a lot of time online talking trash about Austin. He says they call Austin comics edgelords and accuse them of being offensive just to be offensive. In Tony's view, that criticism isn't real. It's just people chasing views and engagement.
What's the best city for comedy right now? Is it Austin? Is it still LA? What do you...
There's no question about it. It's Austin, Texas.
It's Austin, really?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Honestly, you guys are making it sound really fun. You're there, Jake Al's there, Rogan's there. Who else is there?
Elon, Tim Ferriss.
Zach, let's go shopping.
Shane Gillis.
Shane Gillis.
All of his entire crew is there. Matt McCusker, Tom Segura, Christina
We came
P.
and saw you a few months ago when we did that event in Austin. What was that, March or something?
Yeah.
March, right?
It was incredible. I mean, the crowd.
Yeah, so we got hooked up with your guy, got us some tickets, and I was with some buddies, and they said, let's go see Kill Tony. We got in touch with your guy, got into the show. And I think I had forgotten what stand-up comedy was supposed to be like from like the late 90s, early 2000s, even into the 2010s. Because over the last couple of years, we've talked a lot about guys getting their heads chopped off when they said something wrong, Chappelle, and everyone got so guarded in comedy. And I went to your show, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, oh my God, like, no, this was tame tonight, but like what went on your stage? And then you did a bit where you really tried to push the limits. It was a really interesting show to watch, because this was like, we were sitting next to each other, and we were like, oh my God, he's really trying to see how far he could go. Yeah. And there were moments where it was like, everyone was just like, oh. Yeah. But it was so different. And you've really like given everyone permission to find the limits, to find real humor, to find, what's sort of been taken away.
Tony's defense of Austin is pretty simple. He says comedians didn't move there because they wanted to be crazier or meaner. They moved because California handled the pandemic badly. Things felt unstable after the George Floyd protests, and Austin offered more freedom and lower costs. In other words, the comedy didn't change, the location did. He also pushes back on the idea that Austin comedians are untalented. Tony says these are the same comics who used to be in the middle of the lineup at the Comedy Store. They weren't nobodies. They just took their career somewhere else.
Some comedians, when they're trying to promote their specials or whatever now from LA and New York, will say things like, oh, Austin, so that they can get hits on their clip. You have to talk shit about Austin. It's been a thing the last couple of years. And they go, oh, they're just edgelords and this and that, and they're just pushing limits. And it's like, we were the Comedy Store guys in the middle of the lineup. When I go to New York, I can perform at any club there. When I go to LA, I can perform at any club there. So we just live there. It's an amazing place to live. It's an amazing place to go out and drink and eat and listen to music and hang out with cool people.
Now your guys are going mainstream. Your one guy's on SNL now.
Yeah.
Cam Patterson, right?
And so much is happening. But my point is we're doing we're not like, let's go to Austin and get even crazier. We're the exact same people that were in the middle of the lineup at the Comedy Store. And it wouldn't have changed. We would still be in LA if California didn't completely mishandle the pandemic and let police take such a terrible hit during the George Floyd riots. That's
why you moved?
Yeah, it's when we all decided to move.
Tony also talks about Kill Tony like it's the future of comedy. He compares it to how things used to work in Hollywood, where agents and producers picked who got famous behind closed doors. On Kill Tony, names get pulled from a bucket. Anyone can go up. Anyone can win. No gatekeepers, at least in theory. He even compares it to the old Johnny Carson days, where getting invited to sit on the couch could change your life. Tony believes Kill Tony has replaced that moment for a new generation. That all sounds good, but this is where things get messy. Tony talks like all the criticism of Austin comedy comes from bitter people outside Texas. But that's not actually true. A lot of the criticism is coming from Austin comedians themselves. Austin-based comedian David Womble Jr. has made a ton of videos calling out problems with Kill Tony. One of the biggest issues he talks about is joke theft. Comedians doing jokes that aren't really theirs.
I started it. When I first got here, there was two comedians that were well known, or one which was well known in San Antonio, that went on Kill Tony and stole a joke. Then another one stole a joke. And I got looked at as a bad guy because I said these niggas was stealing jokes. It's hard enough to come up with stuff from nothing to make people laugh, or come up with situations in your life to make funny. But if you're out here watching some other person taking their joke word for word, practicing it, and then going on a platform and doing it, you should be exiled from comedy.
If you want a deeper breakdown of David Womble Jr.'s arguments, including examples, I've done a full analysis on my Patreon, which is free, or through channel memberships right here on YouTube. Another Austin comedian, Joe Begley, has also said the Austin scene is struggling. Not dead, but tired. The crowds aren't as big, the excitement isn't the same. What used to feel fresh now feels repetitive.
I think so much has changed in Austin comedy since then. We're in a bit of a hangover right now as a scene, which is everybody moved down here. There was a bunch of excitement about the mothership opening up. There were all these comedians that were moving down here. And that created like a buzz around the city. The city was growing. People were coming in. People were super fired up to watch stand up and be a part of this thing that's growing. I mean, when I moved here, I felt this general feeling where I'd done stand-up and lived for long periods of time in San Francisco, San Jose, Boston, abroad, and I would walk into these bars and coffee shops and I'd sit there without my headphones in, and not once did I ever hear anyone talking about comedy. But in Austin, it was exciting. Like, you would hear people having conversations about your friends. You would get recognized for being on local shows. People would look at you and be like, I saw you on that thing. Since that has happened, over the course of the last year, I feel like there's like a general kind of burnout with Austin comedy that's going on. I think people are bored of the comedians they're seeing. I think this excitement around Austin is kind of drying up. Not just the Austin comedy scene, Austin itself.
This is where the edgelord debate gets misunderstood. A lot of people aren't mad because jokes are offensive. They're just bored of the same energy. Every joke doesn't need to be a roast. Every show doesn't need someone getting torn apart. Sometimes people just want to laugh. That might explain why more lighthearted comedians like Casey Rocket and Cam Patterson don't seem as locked into the Austin scene anymore. Maybe they left for better opportunities, or maybe they just didn't want to be in a scene where roasting is the main vibe all the time. Tony even brings up the UK and says London and Ireland had some of the worst Kill Tony shows ever. He calls the crowds gloomy and says comedy is more appreciated in the Middle East than in London.
Will you guys tour in Europe, or is it like not worth it?
We just did in June, and unless they basically give us Buckingham Palace, we'll probably never go there again. It was the worst Kill Tony in the history of our existence.
Why?
The comedians were just terrible. And we've done quite a few in England and Ireland and stuff. Just the comedians were terrible. The vibes there are rough. There's just this never-ending gloom in London.
That probably says less about British comedy and more about how roast-heavy American comedy doesn't always land overseas. Not every audience wants hostility packaged as real comedy. The bigger issue is this: Austin comedy isn't new anymore, and when something stops being new, people start asking harder questions. Not out of hate, but because the excitement fades. Austin didn't rise because it was edgy. It rose because it felt different. If it starts to struggle, it won't be because people are too sensitive. It'll be because the scene leaned too hard on roasting and forgot that comedy needs variety. Tony Hinchcliffe might be right that power shifted away from LA and New York, but no comedy scene stays on top forever just by being loud. And right now, the people questioning Austin comedy the most aren't outsiders. They're comedians inside the scene asking a simple question: is constant roasting still fun, or are people just tired of it? That answer will decide what Austin comedy looks like next.